What is up, everybody? You know, I always start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. First is going to be a new one, but these guys have been friends of mine forever. It is going to be my buddy Thaddeus over at On Purpose Media. Guys, this episode is brought to you by On Purpose Media. They help HVAC businesses get more phone calls through better marketing online. On Purpose Media. Let me read my writing. Uh, Builds websites that turn visitors into customers. They get you to the top of the Google searches when people search for your services. They also run smart Google ads that target people who need your services right now. The team at On Purpose Media knows the home service industry. They have been doing it for over 5 years. They understand what homeowners are looking for when their AC breaks or their furnace stops working. If you need more results for your home service business, visit onpurposemedia.ca today. They'll make your phone ring so you can focus on taking care of your customer. On Purpose Media, marketing that can actually work for the home service companies. Guys, check them out. Tell them that Gil sent you from HVAC Uncensored. Thaddeus is a very, very good dude, and he will take care of you. With that being said, on to the next one. Guys, it is my anchor, my friends over at Yellow Jacket. I actually love this company and everything that they stand for, and I want to make sure that people know some of their new products that are out because I really, really think that they're amazing. I'm in the process of shooting some videos on every single one of these, but the one that I keep wanting to press on is going to be the Titan Max digital manifold. This thing is awesome. It really, really is. And like I've told you, I'm not going to go over it again. One of the biggest questions that I get that people email me, they say, Gil, this thing's expensive. I want you guys to understand that there is 4 different ways to buy it. I'm not going to go over the part numbers again, but just make sure that you are asking and the people are giving you the correct cost. Because if they're giving you the most expensive one, then you're not comparing apples to apples. I can tell you that this manifold is within $50 of all the other major manufacturers' manifolds when you are just buying the manifold. You start adding in, wireless clamps and, hoses and stuff like that, the price is going to change. But if you're just going manifold for manifold, they are within $50 of each other. So I know that for a fact. And if it's not, then you need to check that place you're buying it because they're doing something wrong. But guys, this manifold is a beast. I've been using this, testing it out. Like I said, doing different videos, connecting all of the wireless stuff to it and checking the operation. I'm doing all this for feedback for Yellow Jacket. And guys, I love this thing. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think that everybody should definitely take a look at it if you are in the market to upgrade your digital manifold. If you're not, I don't want you to spend money you don't need to spend. Like I tell you guys, I will never ever tell you to go buy something because of me. I just say if you're in the market, if you're looking to upgrade, you're looking to buy a new manifold, give my friends over at Yellow Jacket a try. Check this out. I think that you will be extremely happy. The thing is built like a tank, and I have thoroughly loved using this thing. All right. So, with that being said, 75 years of expertise built into every tool. My friends over at Yellow Jacket. Let's get on to the show. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I'm your host, Gil KV Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday, another hump day, and another amazing show for you guys. I am super excited about tonight. You guys have seen the guests. We're going to get into that to a second. I want to give some shout outs to everybody in here real fast before we get going. Mr. Nasty, what is up, my man? He was the first one in here tonight. He's unthroning my man, Freon Leon. What is up, Leon? Thanks for being here, buddy. Rookie, what is up, my brother? Mr. Neil C. Vids, hello, hello. Let's see. Mr. Zeke, what is up, brother? Thank you for being here, buddy. Mr. Jason Johnson, what is up, my man? Sure, I'm not missing anybody. Mr. Gary Geisberg, how are you? Thank you for being here. Let's see, am I missing someone? I don't think. If I missed you, I apologize. But hope everybody's had a great week so far. I'm here, doing the old roller coaster, but hey, life sucks, get a helmet. Just kidding. Say to everybody, but I'm super excited about tonight, man. If you guys haven't seen the guest, this is, and I'm going to say this throughout this podcast, 5, 6, 7, however years ago, man, I watched YouTube just like everybody else does. I was watching to better myself, watching different channels, and this is one of the channels that I watched. I was a fan. And to be able to meet this person and now to be able to call them a friend and talk to them on the phone and trying to go visit them has just truly been a blessing. And it's awesome to be able to talk to him and be friends with him, especially with the impact that he has made on this industry that I don't think you can even put a value on. I don't think you'd even judge it. Everybody that I've ever talked to, I don't care what state I've been in, and they watch YouTube videos, they name this person, especially if they're in the residential market, bar none. So with that being said, man, please help me put your hands together for a person that I have the utmost admiration for. Guys, the one and only AC Service Tech, Mr. Craig Migliaccio.
Gil, I appreciate you so much, brother, and I always enjoy seeing you, at the shows and just talking to you in general. And so it was really nice to catch up with you at least a little bit right before the show. And so I'm excited to see what we're getting into tonight.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you so much for being here. And I do mean that from the bottom of my heart, man. It was crazy, watching you all those years, and now to be able to, know you and call you as a friend like that is absolutely amazing. And one of the things that I love about this community that we have, that those are the kind of things that happen, especially going to these shows and meeting people and stuff like that, that it doesn't matter somebody's impact or how many subscribers they have or followers, that everybody's just down to earth blue collar people, and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. I met you, what was it, 3 or even 4 years ago now? It's probably 4 years ago at AHR, and just getting to know everybody. I thought maybe even myself, just meeting people, it was going to be one of those, almost harsh things. Like when you grow up in the construction trade, sometimes you run into these, just hard, really hard people that don't want to communicate very nicely to you. And it's the complete opposite. Everybody that is making these videos and podcasts and everything like yourself are just super awesome people. And I'm really glad to be able to call you a friend too, brother. Appreciate you.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, it's so I know you have been busy, a lot going on. I mean, from YouTube to podcasting to books. I mean, how do you find time to do all this stuff, man?
That I wish I knew. And I'm still I'm always on a discovery of you know, how to do things well, how to do things in a way where hopefully you can bless other people, and how to be effective with my time, how to use any gift that I have, any gift of our other team. So our whole team is, it's what, 7, 8 people actually now. And so we use everybody's skills in order to be able to basically get the job done. So, like, this last book was a team effort. This one, the second edition. So, I actually asked everybody to sign that and frame it and put it in my room. Like, 'cause I'm proud of that, to be able to work with our group of people and for everybody to really be on board and just be complementary to each other in order to get the job done. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I bet it, and it seems like you have an amazing team. Obviously, I've met some or there or not, but for what you guys do, and I love those books. And it's not even just the information. Is I love that it's easy to follow, because I've always one of those people that I'm more hands-on person. I've never been good at reading and retaining, but I've noticed with your books, it's very easy to follow. It's easy to learn, and I've used your materials to help when I'm training other people, because it's like if you have something so good that's already made, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Um, and all the feedback that I've gotten is everybody has loved it. I mean, it's an Amazon bestseller, so somebody's loving it.
Yeah, I mean, this new book, this second edition refrigerant charging book, that one took a full year to update. So people were asking, "Hey, can I just get that? Can I just buy the update of it?" And it's like, well, like, the entire thing, like, word for word, has been rewritten. All the images. I mean, I think so. We doubled the amount of images that are in the book, but I think maybe like 15% of the existing images are in the book still. Maybe, it's not that much. And so we created like 400 images for this, to specifically create the different scenarios, whether it's like, um, a compound manifold gauge set that has R22, R404A, like how those weird ones are R404A and then R22. And then we have the new compounds that have R32, R454B, and R410A. And then we have the digital ones that obviously we have everything on them. And then we have the digital manifolds in here that have all the superheat, subcoiling, all those measurements. And we even use wireless probes, and we go through like all the steps of the connection process, charging with each of them, and then disconnection. And that's kind of a pretty big deal to go through the step-by-step stuff. And so that's what's driven me to make this book, because when I walked in the classroom, those books were like that thick. And I'm like, and they were tiny little words and written in engineering language with limited amount of pictures. And I'm like, what? This is like worthless to me, like, to hand, not to me necessarily, because I will digest it. But the problem is, I have to give that to a 15-year-old kid that wants to work with his hands. It's not going to happen, So,
Like the
you
modern
do what you got to do.
refrigeration book, when you give that to them, that real big one, and they're like, it's like trying to teach them a different language. And it's not like you said, it's not that the information is wrong. It's hard to consume. It's hard to digest
Yeah.
for most people. And sometimes I feel like that scares away the young kids, like you just said, because a lot of the younger guys or younger people, let me say that, guys and girls, that I've used your book to show to, like, I think when they start to look at it, they're like, because they were expecting it to be something like that, and it wasn't. So that's why I say that it's very easy to consume, which is just going to help us in the future.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we have like scan codes to videos. Like, we have batches. I wasn't able to do like a video for every like page or anything like that, but we've got batches of scan codes to go to the airflow section or charging section videos and things like that, so you can go directly to them. But like, it would take me a whole nother year in order to do that, because it's like to try to remake all the videos to align exactly to the book. It's a little difficult, but that we try to do what we can. So like a full year, all the new images, all the correct wording is there. And I feel a lot, better, and it's more helpful. It covers everybody, now. And so whether you use manifolds or gauge stubs, it includes R32 and R454B. So the new A2L refrigerants, it covers all of the updates for that stuff for residential, like commercial aspects. And, it actually also, this one, meets all the standards for the Department of Labor for residential air conditioning as well. So it's like it's all there, big words. should be easy to follow, and that's the whole point. If you're going to do a book, I think it's all about the organization of it and like how it flows and like how it builds upon itself. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah, and like you said, having the videos too, to be able to, you're reading it, and then this is a video that talks about what you just read, ties it together, and that's powerful. And maybe that's like me, because maybe I'm more of like a cat in the hat person when I have to read books to learn. So it just, to me, it connects the dots. And a lot of people don't know, if they haven't been on your website, is some of the quizzes that you have. When I found
Yeah.
those, like, those are really, really cool quizzes to be able to quiz people. Nothing crazy, but it's just some basic things to quiz people. And I always tell people, like, that worked for me. It's not about pass or fail. It's about how I can help you learn.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you
Yeah.
failed this, you're fired kind of deal. But those things,
Yeah.
and I think there's what, like 10, 12 of them, something like that.
Yeah, so it was really encouraging to me that you told me that, because I can see there's like maybe 100, 150 people take those quizzes a day, and like that's awesome. But like getting feedback from a friend like that's saying that they use that and they value it highly, like that really means the world to me. And so like that's really cool because I was explaining something today to one of our team members, and it's like we try to do things like differently than the way it's been done forever. Like, what's the point of doing something the same way it has been done? That hasn't been helpful. Like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it differently, at least somehow.
Yeah.
And so, with those quizzes, like every single thing has been touched by multiple people, like as far as those quizzes go, like to just make sure that everything is like the most important things that you may need to know in the field. And so, like, I was teaching in the high school with these 15 to 18-year-old kids and the adults at night. And so it gave me a good grasp on like the kind of questions that they would ask. And then answering a lot of those YouTube questions over the years, that's really helped me grow and learn things that maybe I wasn't 100% certain on before. And going back to those quizzes, just so you know, in our book, we have, it's like page 2 or whatever. We're going to end up building this as like charging assessment like quizzes, like actual application stuff. And so in a couple months, we should be able to have that up on the website. But right now, we're actually working on the workbook for this book. And so we're just pushing as hard as we can to try to get everything done. And but while also having an okay balance, in life.
Yeah, no, when I was, my buddy Zeke, who is in here, when I was helping him over the summer and coaching 2 of his younger guys, I used all of your stuff, the booklets and everything. And it worked absolutely amazing. Both those guys are killing it now, and it was easy for them to understand. So that's why I tell you that I use it. Like, I guess if I ever said I was going to be like a coach, then obviously I should probably come up with my own materials and not use all of yours. But it's like it was there, and it worked, and it was very easy for them to learn. And I was like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I tell people with those resources. The other thing that I want people to realize too is the um the trainer things that you have. Like
Oh yeah.
making the board. It's literally, you have exactly how to build it, all the measurements, the part list. Like, it makes it easy. So when I hear some business owners are like, I don't know how to get into training, I want to do better at it. It's like, hey man, there are so many resources out there that are laid out for you. Even if they start off with just using your quizzes and using those training materials. I did, I use them. I'm the first one to say I've used them as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even that we have a TXV, we made a TXV video where you can hook it to a garden hose and then you can warm or cool the bulb and see like it's almost like a sprinkler, like a larger water stream and then it gets shorter. It's like just cut an old TXV off of an old unit and solder a hose connection on it and add your normal pressure to the equalizer line, whatever 40-degree sat temp is, it converted to pressure for that TXV, whatever refrigerant TXV that is, and then just warm or cool the bulb. You know what I mean? And like you can visually see how the TXV is working now, and you get it. Like it's now stuck in your brain. It's cool. It's cool to be able to say come up with those ideas and put them out for everybody. Just like it's not meant to only do those things. It's meant to like inspire, hopefully, other people to come up with ideas and different ways to like look and think about things and build stuff like within the classrooms and have your students build it. People keep asking if they can buy them. I'm like, no. No, build it yourself. Like, have the students build it. If it's in a classroom, are you kidding? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree because you can't have it done for you, but that's part of the process. And I always like that learning when I remember the first time like cutting open a compressor, and seeing what it
Yeah.
was, what it looked like inside. You're like, oh, that's what it does. Like, those little kind of things I feel like are so much easier to learn. And the way by doing it that way, I think that we can start to attract the younger generation. Because you see it, on social media, these 19-year-olds coming in and stuff like that is what's going to attract them, not the old, not to go backwards, but the old big books going blah, 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 blah. Like
Mhm.
that's not how we're going to grow this trade that we all know and love.
Mhm. Yeah, I've even said this. I mean, to somebody that doesn't like to read books, I'm like, flip around until you find pictures that you're really interested in and read the words around them. And once you start doing that, you're like, "Oh, that's how this book is written," or you're like, "Oh, that's how that works." You know what I mean? And then they start flipping around. They're like, "Oh, here's a good section," or "Here's a good section," or "Oh, I want to go straight for the A2L update stuff. I just want to know all of these things, like it all in sequential order or whatever. Like I want to know this. I want to know vacuuming." And just like you don't have to read it from front cover to back cover. Like just grab little bits. It's broken up like charging, or you want to do recovery, or you want to do evacuation or pressure testing or line set connection methods or whatever it is, refrigeration cycle, or going from refrigeration cycle to how to measure the pressures and things like that, and convert them to saturated temperatures. Like there's a lot of little things there um, that can just help in the micro amounts.
Yeah, well, and even if you're not just young and learning, just learning new things in better ways. Like Ty has made a couple of videos that really hit me. Like one was when he was talking about, you know, duct work and how people size in it. And that hit me hard because I went and took a class, and before that, after I learned that, I felt like everything that I had been taught my whole career was a lie. They're like, "Yeah, all that's forget that." And I'm like, "Okay." And we thought we were doing things right, but it was wrong. And the other thing was, the triple evac when people were breaking it with nitrogen, how that doesn't really work like we think we do. And I just love that because being in the trades, 25 years, obviously, there's no such thing as knowing everything, but I love to still learn and something that just grabs a hold of you and grabs your attention. And I guess that's how you can tell you really have a passion for this trade because I still get giddy like that when I learn new things.
Yeah, yeah. I miss all of the face to face teaching stuff. But I do realize it is making a big impact to a lot of people. Every once in a while we'll get these emails that come in that really mean like huge amount to us, of what it's done, but a combination of the videos and the written resources and the website stuff. Like, it's a combination. And so that's really cool. And yeah, like some people learn by reading, some people learn by watching videos. Some people just learn hands on and doing it, but you still need to know how to do it. It's like you just need a combination. It's like going up a ladder. It's not like you just hop up like one rung with one hand. You go like this and you go like that. It's a little at a time, and it's huge to hear it from all kinds of other people like yourself. Ty. Hear it from Brian Orr. So there's tons of people, and I could just start naming them, but I'm not going to because I don't want to forget like somebody in that huge list, because there is a lot of really cool people out there that are teaching and making sure that they know what they're saying is correct. Because what I am noticing is there's a lot of increase in social media videos, but sometimes the content isn't exactly correct. Kind of like what you're saying, like that, the triple evac or something like that. They think that the purging is absorbing like moisture and things like that, and it's like, hey, standing vacuum test or decay test, whatever you like to call it. That's going to tell you if you're holding a true vacuum while the vacuum pump is off. And so you need to be able to know what's true, what's not, and kind of get past some of these old school fallacies, or just the hey, pass it down the line kind of stuff.
Yeah, and evolve. Just because we used to do it doesn't make it right. Like there's a lot of things that we know now based on technology or whatever it is that, yeah, I remember when I first started with my dad, vacuum pumps, put it on for 30 minutes. Ah, looks good, call it a day. Okay. n- we had the best of intentions, but now 25 years, we know, oh man, there's a better way. That wasn't the right way. Um, so I think people just get stuck in that, and I don't want to say they're ignorant in a bad way, but they just it's like they get stuck in their ways and don't want to learn. I've always wanted to be really good or the best at what I do, not, to be able to answer those questions. And when somebody asks you, to be able to give them the why behind the what. I get it. Not everybody's like that, but if more of us start to do that, we're going to raise, the level of, I guess, competency of our industry. The standard is going to raise when enough of us start saying like enough's enough. Like we don't allow that anymore, you know?
Yeah. So I say this to people that want to teach and maybe they want to teach, but they don't feel like a teacher and they don't feel like knowledgeable enough. And so what I tell them is all you have to do is care. You don't have to have the answer right away. If somebody asks you a question, you go look it up, and then you get them the answer. You tell them that, and you don't pass on something that's just been passed to you. You verify it yourself. What I did in the classroom when I came in to start teaching the high school students HVAC and green energy, like solar panels and wind turbines and stuff, I started I started doing testing at night and after the kids left and stuff like that. I could leave after the kids left, but I stayed to try to figure things out because I'm like, oh man, this is scary to me because I never went to a tech school. And so I don't know what, it's like to really teach them. Now I had the caring part. I really like to be involved with kids. Like I liked working with the kids in our youth group at our church and just being alongside them in life. I like the trades. I like teaching my helpers out in the field. And so I knew I really wanted to be there for the kids and kind of help raise them up and things like that in the trades and just in life. Honestly, it's a lot. There's a lot to it because there's a thing with confidence and all this stuff builds, but it all starts with caring. That's all you have to do is care, and you will be successful, in whatever role you decide to go into in terms of like teaching somebody else.
I'm glad that you said that. It makes me feel good because the caring part, I think, is why I've done good at teaching or mentoring and even in management. I'm not the best manager in the world. I'm not the best technically, but I care. I wear my heart on my sleeve and I try to be a man of my word as much as I possibly can. And, really showing people that I care. And I say, hey, if I don't know the answer, then we'll learn it together. It doesn't have to be like you're here, I'm here kind of deal. How some people are, and I do love that. Plus, I always say like when I help teach other people, I feel like it makes me better because I want to make sure that I understand it in a way that I'm explaining it. Like even something as little as a refrigeration cycle. I heard somebody explain it at one time, and they were talking about vapor and saying steam, and I was like, no, don't say that. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know, just little things that just the way I don't want it to be misconstrued where I'm messing up someone's learning. You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The refrigeration cycle, I think we just get better and better as we go. And so it can be complex, but really you want to describe it in a way that makes sense to you. And I will tell you just honestly, and I said this before, but I take a long time internalizing a subject before I go spitting it out or trying to teach it. Like it takes me. What I mean by that is I don't mean that I do my homework and I to do a good job. What I mean is it literally will take me longer compared to somebody else, just average. I've always felt like I've had to work harder than everybody else that maybe smarter or whatever that is, whatever the thing is, the grasping or whatever. It takes me longer, but when I'm on the job, I feel like I'm faster and more effective. I don't run to the supply house because I have every single part I need either ordered in there or in my truck. Like it doesn't happen. Like everything's planned more so. And so the higher the planning is, the more, depth you're trying to find and the more you internalize a subject, the better off you're going to be in performing the task.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I was trying to remember what that one slogan or whatever they call it. What is it? Proper planning prevents piss poor execution
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah,
something like
something like that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
forget.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something my dad and the old guys used to yell at me that
Yep.
probably should remember. Um, yeah, no, that's amazing. And I always wonder, like you doing so many videos, like How do you think of new video ideas? Is it based on what's happening? Is it remaking of old videos to freshen them up? Because I haven't even made videos and get overwhelmed, because I feel like people like you, and we've talked about this. I feel like people like you have made these videos that I feel like are smarter than me. I'm like, well, I don't want to cover the same topic, but and we've talked about it. Maybe people want to hear me say the same thing that somebody else says. It's just my interpretation, which made me feel good. But I get overwhelmed on which one to start or which one to do. And somebody like you that's done so many, I'm just curious to how it gets in to make new ones, like how that process goes.
So a lot of times it comes with questions. Sometimes the videos that are coming out are still videos I wanted to do 6, 7 years ago or 9 years ago, honestly, like from the beginning. And so I didn't have the means to do it. So like now we have a shop that's like soundproof, and I can do video. It's more space, so I can finally do that one video I had in the back of my mind, maybe that I forgot about, and now I finally get to do. Or it's an update like for the new refrigerants or for new tools that are coming out, and it's the application of how to use them, like what is the step-by-step procedure. And so what I'll notice is if somebody hasn't covered something or some subject, then I'll try to do that. Like we did one on the package unit access ports from JB. What off the top of my head, I'm missing the name of them, but we did a video on those and what they are and cut them open with a little spring assembly. You can't remove the valve core. And so, we did a video on it because nobody had ever done one, like a full in-depth one, and the replacement of it with like under pressure. So we just made one with a sheet metal transition from a furnace to evaporator coil, and that used that invention that I had made like 3 years ago with the folding tool that has like
Oh,
a large mouse, so that you can like make end caps without S-lock, and you can make a modified Pittsburgh seam in order to not have to use S-lock. And so I got to like showcase that and do that transition video that I always wanted to do. So it like worked out. Some
nice.
videos are remakes, like a sheet metal tool video I made in 2016 when I had no idea how to do videos or audio. And I did it, and it was fuzzy and you couldn't see. And so now I finally get a chance to remake those videos. And I remember like the first video I made was like a gutter downspout, just cutting it with tin snips, like the red and green tin snips, cutting it, and that people still watch those videos. That's really awesome. But getting to your point, what you said about like how do you figure out a topic you feel overwhelmed? You just start with one thing that you're excited about. Make it a short video, a 1-2 minute video or whatever, and then you kind of build on that. Once you start getting in a rhythm of doing it, that's how you break into feeling more comfortable. You always are going to feel not comfortable. Like when we're writing a book, I don't feel like we're ever going to actually get it done until it's done. You know what I mean? Like that's a hard feeling to feel, but I feel that all the time. Same thing with the videos. I'm like, man, I hope this comes out clear, and I try to make sure that I'm covering all the points and I'm not misleading somebody, or I might have to do audio corrections because I'm like, oh crap, what I said there is not exactly right. And so I want to make sure that the information is getting out there correctly, and that's a big deal. But yeah, you start on the small content and just do it. You just go for it.
Yeah, no, and I want to do that because I do love helping other people, and like I said, it makes me better at the same time. And you always get like worried that you're gonna say something wrong, but that's the power of editing. I'll just cut it out and redo it. Some people have been putting some questions for you.
Yeah,
Rookie, this
I
guy.
see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Craig, thanks for what you have brought to the industry, but what's next? Ever thought of creating any tools?
So I have several tool invention ideas, but I've been battling this, and so it's all a matter of time, right? So you only have so much time on this earth, and that's it. There's a lot of people that can. I don't want to say that. There's a lot of I could invent tools, and I could just do that. I have to pick a lane. So everybody here with me has different skill sets, from writing to review to building strategically, like laying something out, image creation, and things like that. And we've assembled this team to make educational products. So if I veer off and start doing invention stuff, that takes away from the time I'm going to be able to invest in the HVAC education resources. And so, like, there's a fine line of balance in creating content and being a good business owner and educator, and also a good family man. Like the family is most important. So God's most important, you know what I mean? But you need to take care of your family, before you then just push on with your business ambitions and stuff like that, because you can really get yourself into trouble with having what you think are good intentions, and you're just wrecking your relationships with everybody around you because you're just so buried. And so you have to have a balance. And what I found in my life is that I must just focus on the HVAC educational content and doing that as projects with all of our team members together, moving forward.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and my grandmother used to always say it. The road to hell was paved with good intentions. People mean well, and it's great that you said that, because obviously we know that you can do that, but it's just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I've been the first one to do that, where I get myself going in 100 million directions, and none of them ever get 100% of me. You know what I mean? And it ends up, I'm not happy with the output that I gave for this. Families being shorted. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's the truth. We all got to remember what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing at the end of the day. So yeah, no, that's an awesome question, guys. And if you have questions, put them in all caps. I'll make sure. Um, Mr. Randy said,
Can I can
I
I can I
go,
add one thing to HVAC rookie?
yeah,
I appreciate you, brother, and I always appreciate seeing you, man. So that's one thing. Number two, I don't think I completely answered your question, because I'm not doing. I said what I'm not doing, right? We are presently working on the 1,300 question workbook for the second edition refrigerant charging and service procedures for air conditioning book. That's taking a lot of time. We are pressing hard in that and getting it done pretty soon. After that, we are going towards electrical as far as basics book. So we're working towards that, and as well, we're going to try to do some updates on the website. And I don't want to say too much, because it's like, I'm kind of a person of my word, so it's going to be painful trying to make it all work. But that's some of the goals that I can go ahead and share at this point in time. I just wanted to answer him.
yeah, no, that's awesome. And to go back to what I said earlier, anybody out there, if you have not been on Craig's website, acservicetech.com, I highly suggest you do that. There is a bunch of tools and goodies, like I said, tests and all kind of stuff on there. I highly suggest you do that. If you own or run a business, if you're a manager and you need help training, go on the website. There is resources on there for you. I have used every single one of them multiple times, and they've done nothing but help me. So it's there. Use them. Obviously, if you don't have the books, get the books. That's like I said, I've used them to train, but I want to make sure I went back and said that about the website, because I know a lot of people they support you and they watch your channel and love what you do, but they don't take the time to actually go on your website and realize how much stuff is actually on there that is beneficial to you. I went searching around for something and went down a rabbit hole and was like, oh, look at this. Oh man, look at that. And so I want to make sure that all of you do that as well. Mr. Randy, I don't want to, pretty sure Mr. Randy has autism, and I don't want to forget his question. I just don't know
Sorry
how
about that.
we can answer it. Yeah. Where did it go, Randy? I'm pretty
Crap.
sure he said, how is autism being dealt with in the trades? I have never, but besides maybe Isaiah, I have never actually managed or worked with somebody that has it. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. I don't know if you have.
Well, they say every tradesperson, has maybe something like ADHD, something like myself. I'm constantly looking and distracted all of the time. It takes a lot to focus. I think things that we look as maybe quote unquote negatives or something like that are actually superpowers, honestly, because now you're able to address it in a way that other people are not able to. And so you just got to find your niche. You got to find literally the things that you were created to do, and do them well. The things that you find joy in, and you can do very well, better than other people. And so like that's the best tip that I can give you. How every single person may function differently. You kind of have to figure that out yourself. I'm still figuring things out like about myself. Like I just was sharing with a team member today about that. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize sometimes I will like come in and want to like, you know, like you're where I might say, hey, can you handle this? And then I'll be walking by and I'll see something. And I said, hey, can you handle it? And then I might interject and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, oh crap. Like that might come off like I don't have confidence in that person. That's not the case at all. I'm just super like, I just see, and then there's all this data that's happening all around me at all times. And I just see it all. It's hard to shut it off. And so like, I think everybody's built differently. I fessed up like when I was, teaching a class at the HVAC symposium in Orlando, right in the middle of my presentation, I'm like, I got to stop for a sec. I'm just letting you know that light right there is bothering me. This floor is squeaky, and I'm just letting you know, you're not the only one. and then kept going.
That's funny. It's funny you say that because I am like that, and it's rookie jokes because he always says Gil squirrel because I always see so many things going on that I'll be talking about one thing and then it's like, oh man, did you see that this does this? And man, do you see that manufacturer's making this? And I try to go and I have to try to slow myself down sometimes. So that's funny you said that because as you were describing it, I was like, man, I have that all the time. I almost call it like brain fatigue because I can't like slow it down to concentrate on one thing. I started using timers on my phone where I will do something and I'll set a timer for an hour. And when that hour's done, I'll move on to the next thing. And it actually helped me get things accomplished because if I just had the whole day and it's like, I'm going to do this. And then when that's done, I'm going to do this. I found that I wasn't getting as much accomplished as I wanted to get done. So I had to do the timers because I would be all over the place. Oh, we got another one.
You really need to figure out what your identity is, and just, and try to see what works best, for you. And everybody's created differently. And so like you have something really special, that you can do way better than everybody else. And you just got to realize that and learn and find what that is. Don't always feel like everybody else is, more knowledgeable or whatever. That doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I did feel that way at a point, and in talking to to you and having different conversations about not to backtrack is like we can all have a video on the same topic and say the same thing for the most part, but this group of people is going to connect with you, whereas this group of people is going to connect with me maybe it's personality, it's something to do in the video. So it's it everybody can do it. Don't feel like you don't do it because somebody else does it. And because I felt that way and people helped me like Craig, making those kind of it just makes sense not to do that. Let's see, Craig, have you ever thought about putting together a book to help people pass the EPA 608?
So yes, and not just a book. I wanted to do it's going to take it takes me 5 hours to do a full course in a classroom for the EPA prep. And so, to pull it all together, and we do that like a couple days before the exam. And like, I've done that many times. And so it's like, hey, should I do a course, a video or whatever? But basically the long and short of it is that whole thing is so, okay, call it diluted. There's so many people that are doing it. Do you really need me to do it? You know what I mean? Like because it's really, you take the test and all the organization is there. And then somebody just like creates a teaching backwards. Like there's already a structure. And so if there's all these tons of people that have books about it, and like that's the biggest book on HVAC on Amazon is the EPA 608 test, and there's a new one generated every 15 minutes by AI, somebody using AI. By the way, there's tons of AI written books on Amazon, and like, I'm glad that they haven't really like necessarily like affected like maybe our sales of the books there and the popularity or whatever, because people know us already, you know what I mean? So they already value our books. But there is a new HVAC book every like 15 minutes, and they're mostly EPA or master license books. And so it's like a mess. right now, and they're fake reviews and everything else, like on Amazon, AI written review. You can read it. You know what I mean? You can see the way that they're written. So it's like, and I'm not upset or angry about it. I'm just stating like what's happening, and it's interesting because you got to follow along with like the trends and like what's happening and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You want to be aware and to be able to like pivot, and you want to be beneficial with your time and like the things that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And it's speaking of like those 608 tests and most of them, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, I overthink things, but I don't ever want to be given something that I feel like I didn't earn. And like to me, the 608 test, when you would go get your your EPA license, you go, you take the class, they go over it, they pretty much give you all the answers, and then you take the test. Okay, so if everybody doesn't walk out with a universal, then something's wrong. But I would leave that and feel like, well, then this is kind of a joke because, you know, all I did was remember the answers that he did this just gave me, but did I really learn anything? Did I really absorb the knowledge that I was supposed to retain? And I don't know. Maybe that's just me. People are like, Gil, I don't know why you worry about it so much. I'm like, I don't know. I want to make sure that I'm retaining the information to make myself better and not just getting a piece of paper to say I got a piece of paper. If that's the case, that's all the wrong reasons for us to even have a certification.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can get EPA certified through ESCO, through SkillCat, through ACCA. You know, there's a lot of other resources out there, and to your point, they're using not great images, and they're just teaching to the test, like these ones that are not those three. And so, but there's plenty of resources to go and do. But when I would teach it as like the 5 hour, like just, hey, condensed, like bam, 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 it all had to do with the real life application of it, so that you could apply it as well as pass the test. So I get it. It's just a matter of your time. And that's why I haven't done it. I just felt there's a lot of people that have already done it. Do I really need to do this? Should I spend time somewhere else organizing and building and like having something else that I feel like we could knock the hurdles down for somebody's growth in a good way that doesn't exist presently. And just so you know, we've added this extra thing like to like our reason why we do stuff. One is to make people valuable, so that they can support their family well. But another big, huge thing of this is make them so valuable to when they get older and they have a family and things like that, they are able to politely be able to put their foot down as far as how much on call stuff and when, like not be working on call 2 and 3, weekends a month kind of deal. You know what I mean? That you
Yeah.
need to be able to spend time with your family. So if somebody's super, super valuable, they can politely communicate this correctly, to their boss. But that's the object. Those two things allow somebody to grow. And when you're young, hey, you can work all the overtime in the world, learn as much as you can. But when you have a family, you need to be able to have time to invest, in that.
Yeah. Time is one thing that we can't get back. And sadly, you learn that as you get older and hopefully the damage isn't done, because I get stories all the time where it's, you know, divorce or relationship is gone. So yeah, don't let that
Yeah.
happen. And thank God, I think that the trade is changing. Culture has become, I think people talk about culture a little too much and they don't realize what they're talking about, but at least people are talking about it and positive culture is happening in companies where these people do care about their employees and they want them to have good family lives and stuff like that. So that is good that we're moving in the right direction where the technicians can feel empowered that if this place is just beating you over the head, well, guess what? There's a place that's going to treat you right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, business owners, they never got into the HVAC field. If it's a smaller company, we'll say not this, conglomerate, huge companies per se, but the smaller companies, they have to learn how to manage people, and they didn't get into the HVAC field because they liked working with people. They liked working with machines, and there's a reason. Is because they're built in a certain way. So like they are on this growth journey as well as you, and so they have to latch on to podcasts like this and resources that have or include people that care. And what's funny is, and I've shared this with Gil, is like there's somebody like right down the road, literally like 3 minutes away from our office that didn't know, AC service tech, and they were listening to Gil's podcast, and they were like, and then they went to the website and ordered some books, and then we saw the order, like Patty saw the order, and they were like, hey, do you want to just pick it up at our shop? And they're like, what do you mean? We're like, you're right down the road. And so the owner came over and said hi to me and everything like that, and so it's just funny, but that business owner was listening to Gil, and what you were saying really meant a lot to him, and so business owners, when they care, they're listening, they're learning, and then they get to invest in other people. And that's exactly what was happening. He was getting resources for all his new techs. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. When Craig told me that, I was like, "You mean there's somebody that listens to me that doesn't watch you?" And that's what we always tell that, it's we're not all pulling from the same group of people. And me and Craig have had some amazing conversations on it. It's, if this person has 200,000 people and this one person has 5,000, it doesn't mean, oh, I got to get the other 300,000 that this person has. They could be totally different people. It doesn't mean they're all the same. So that's awesome to see how this, kind of comes full circle. And knowing that I was able to lead somebody to you is awesome. Uh, thought I was looking at something. Um, sorry, I had a brain fart there for a second, trying to look at the chat and some of the things that they say in there. Um, Man, we don't. If anybody has any questions, we're getting down to like the last 10, 15 minutes. I'm not going to keep Craig too long. I know this goes incredibly fast. I wanted to ask you, are you still getting? I feel like it's slowed down because when we first heard about the whole A2Ls, feel like people blew it out of proportion and made it so much worse than it was. Do you still get a lot of questions on your videos of people asking questions, or has it kind of like calmed down now that people kind of understand?
Once people started installing systems and they didn't even realize it was A2L. They're like, oh, I did put one of those in. Oh, yeah, I think it has slowed down. I think the manufacturers beat it to death, and to the point where, when people start, like the sales type people, I'm saying, and not all manufacturers are like this, but some are and have been doing this, and so like they kept pushing all the new tools. Well, the technicians got wise to that through educational videos and podcasts and everything else. But the reality of it is you just need a A2L rated vacuum pump to work on existing A2L systems, not new ones, because the refrigerant is still trapped. It's brand new line set. You need an A2L compatible recovery machine. It's to recover that refrigerant, and that's only if there's a leak. And the reality of it, the fan blows it across the recovery machine right across its heat exchanger anyway. They were already designed that way, and they have some more plastic that's keeping the switching components away from where the refrigerant pumping components are. The motors are AC, but maybe there's a little extra protection, or they're DC. The heated diode leak detectors never got up to the heat it would take to combust the refrigerant. So they're just adding basically electrons onto it for the heated diode leak detector, and it's sensing the electrical flow across there, and all the rest of the leak detectors there's no source of ignition. That's the gist, and then the other things were like the temperature glide of R454B is like 2.1 degrees, and so you just need to have either compound sets or digital ones that have bubble and dew on them, meaning like they show that 2.1 degree difference even at 0 psi. If you turn on a digital manifold, and there are some out there that are not, by the way, they try to like just use vapor pressure, or they just try to use liquid pressure. No good, dude. If you put R410A on your digital manifold and you turn that thing on, it's at 0 psi, and you have different saturated temperatures, that's correct. That it should be like maybe around 2.1 degrees. But if they match, like they're using either the vapor saturated temperature or the liquid saturated temperature, not having the dew on the vapor side and the bubble on the liquid side.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's good.
Yeah,
Huh.
and there's companies that on the compound sets they have them, like they are different. If you look at them and you look at the pressure converted to saturated temperature, they are slightly different. They've painted those things onto the compound sets, but that doesn't mean that all of them are. And then so what you're talking about is a 2 degree change in your superheat or your subcooling. Well, for superheat, that's the maximum amount that we allow, clearance for is plus or minus 2 degrees. For subcooling, we allow, 3, because we don't ever want to get the superheat down too low. Like if we're setting it at 6 and we're off and we're down at 4, that could potentially be like dangerous, like once the wet bulb temperature decreases, or, and the target superheat becomes less, then you have liquid, saturated refrigerant flooding the compressor and stuff like that. But anyway, you just want accurate tools, with the manifolds, there's no source of ignition, so it was never a problem. So it's just be aware. And then you got to know how the refrigerant sensors work, and like all of the, the things that can occur, like the zoning will open up. The blower motor will turn on. The compressor should shut off unless there's a solenoid. Some are equipped with solenoids that shut at least half the refrigerant charge off. Most are not, for the small residential ones. It's not, there might be a visual alarm that goes off or something like that, or a light or something, if it hits the parts per million amount for the sensors. And we're looking at it's the heated, what is it? The heated sensors, heated diode sensors, for the A2L refrigerants. Those are the most common type, and there's ones that even have heaters on the plastic casing, so that you don't have humidity condense onto the case of the sensor and get onto the circuit board. Like there's an extra heater inside. There's a bunch of little things to it. I might do a video. I was talking with a manufacturer about some of that stuff. So it's like, you do the videos based on what you see the need is. And there's some things where it's like you want to do a basic skill, because it just never has been done in a sequential manner of like, here's the procedure, here's the reality of this, here's, all of that stuff in basic tools. Or you're into this question that people have been asking, and you just want to get an answer out there for them. And I felt that way. I know, Ty feels that way as well. And, Ty's inspirational to me. He's a really good friend as well. And, Ty Brannaman. And so he does a great job, in doing all these social media videos to explain something. And he's obviously, he's like the best presenter there is, in our HVAC industry as far as like content. He just, hands down, there isn't anybody, and the excitement, like you just want to listen to that guy. You know what I mean? Like he's a beautiful man. He's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's taking those topics, and I, man enough to admit this, that I'm very good at a lot of things in this trade, and some things I know them well enough, but sometimes there'll be a video or something that just kind of brings it together, and you're like, "Ah, that makes sense. Okay, that's okay. This does this because okay," and it just gets you thinking. And those little kind of questions, and I love. And Ty does do very good. I got to get Ty on here. We've talked about working it out, but I love to have him on here because, like I said, I like doing some of the business things, but I also want to get back to doing some more of the technical stuff. Even though I had you on here, we didn't really do anything technical. But I because I like learning them, as that's the inner geek in me comes out, because I like asking the same questions as people in the chat do. One that I want to make sure I don't forget is where did it go? Why do we need A2L vacuum gauges? And the other thing is, I've heard from a manufacturer, I won't say who they are, that a lot of these things they're just putting A2L certifications on stuff just to kind of make people feel better, but there was really no change in the product.
Yeah, so A2L compatible means they did not have any third-party testing, and they have self-proclaimed it to be good for A2L refrigerants, which are mildly flammable. I don't know if you've ever seen the actual glass vial tests and the flammability things and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they're different than A1s, but they're not like an A2.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not anywhere close to an A3. And we already work with propane stuff, all the household appliances and isobutane and things like that, 600A. But in reference to the manufacturers, A2L compatible is a self-proclamation. You were good for A2L refrigerants, and most of the tools have not been changed. And they're just saying, but that's okay. They're just saying, hey, it's safe to use for A2L refrigerants. That's all. A2L certified means they did third-party testing. There is no A2L test that UL or any third party can perform. They perform testing that would meet qualifications that align to the flammability limits and the flame spread velocity and things like that for A2L refrigerants, but there is no like A2L exact certification or anything like that. It's not like A2L rated. It's not. So they say that might be A2L certified or whatever. And that just means that they had extra third-party testing to say, hey, it's safe to use with A2L refrigerants. And in reference to vacuum gauges, there's no source of ignition, so that it's kind of a moot point. But they want to put A2L compatible and everything for number one, just to let everybody know, like, that doesn't understand what A2L refrigerants are. They want to make sure that they understand that they are compatible for that. But the second thing is sometimes they get overused for sales related things. And as far as the vacuum pump goes, yeah, like you'll use a A2L rated vacuum pump for an existing system because you might be pulling A2L refrigerant out of the compressor oil, or maybe they didn't pump it down, or they recover all the refrigerant and maybe there's some left in there. They didn't do the proper procedures. Like, basically the procedures are mainly very similar, except for the fact of after you recover and before you braze, you need to flow nitrogen or an inert gas. Maybe it's like 15 to 20 CFH for a period of like 3-5 minutes, 7 minutes, or something like that. And then you tune it down to 3 to 5 CFH for during brazing. But otherwise, we're doing the same stuff, so kind of beating a dead horse. And I think it's just some sales stuff, but you need to know the proper procedures. A lot of people still don't know proper procedures. And that's what made me want to do a video on like brazing versus silver soldering. And then also going over the acidity and what it looks like on the inside, and oxidation, like what happens when you don't flow nitrogen. And then, communicating about press. And so like we did a video on all of that testing and everything like that. I always wanted to do that. And it was like, man, this is going to take a while. People don't realize those 5 to 15 minute long videos, they take 16 to 40 hours. So it doesn't, to 4 layers of review, the editing to try to get all the cuts right, going back, getting B-rolls to make sure that people that are watching it will watch it through, and it's like it's meeting all of the things that are engaging them, like visually, and also being accurate, like with what you're saying. We're not perfect people, you know what I mean? Like we say things that aren't correct sometimes, and then we catch ourselves later and you're like, oh crap, I meant to say this word, I said that word. Got to go back, fix it, or whatever. It's not okay to just leave it because it's inaccurate. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that just because you don't have time. Well, don't do it then. Yeah. Like that's the issue. But so that's why I say it's like start out with something, a minute video or 2-minute video. But people don't realize, they think like I talk like that all the time, and I don't. It's
a production.
It's one thing, huh?
It's a production. What you do, it's HVAC, but it's behind the scenes. There's a lot into making that happen. It's not just camera. Oh, first take, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, have a good day, put it out on YouTube. That's not how that works.
You gotta. If anybody saw me moving the lighting as much as I did during this like sheet metal transition video I did, like a 4-piece transition video, you'd be like just shaking your head. Like if you noticed how many times I moved 4 or 5 lights during that whole thing because of the shine of the sheet metal. You know how terrible it would look if I didn't do that? We have 16 lights in that room where I do the training at. They're all individually turned on or turned off to avoid reflections on gauge faces, sheet metal, and all kinds of stuff, so that something doesn't get in the way of somebody learning. That's what I've always been about. If something is, I don't care about doing videos. I care about transmitting the information from myself or whatever the accurate source is. If somebody else is here doing the video, I want to get that information from wherever the source is to that individual. And I don't want blockades. I don't want barriers or anything like that. And I want it to be easily digestible. So anything that's in the way of that, has to go. And so it might be painful doing some stuff, but that's sometimes what you need to do. And who likes working in a 120-degree attic? No, says nobody. You know what I mean? Like, who likes rolling around fiberglass? Nobody. Guess why? You do it because you care about the job that you do. You care about your customer, and you want to be able to do a good job. And so you look at the job at the end and you're like, wow, that's really good. That's something I can take pride in.
Yeah, no, for sure. And exactly, that just shows when you were doing the work, you were doing it to the best of your ability. You care about the small details. Nothing's going to change when you make videos talking about said topics. You're still going to put the same passion and effort into that. And that's why it comes through. 500, 600,000 people didn't subscribe to you by accident. You know what I mean? It's because of those little things that happen and go into it. It's not like some of these, kid YouTubers where they just go and make reaction videos to. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a reaction video to your videos. I'm just gonna watch your
Great.
videos and be like, look, Craig does this awesome, and see if I can get that. The sad part is people would probably watch it.
It's because it's your face, though.
Yeah, hey, maybe. Like I
Hey,
want to hear what Gil has to say
Because
about
if there's
Craig.
anything that I could do to my face to like improve it, the problem is I was born this way. There's like nothing I can do. You know how much a face transplant costs nowadays? It is crazy, ridiculous, dude.
Oh
Nothing I
man.
can do.
No, you're good, man. You're good. It's one thing we're past. I wanted to ask this real fast if you knew, because I don't know the answer to this question. Speaking of the EPA 608, are they going to make an addendum or an adjustment to that for people to go get certified for A2Ls? Because I've heard stuff, but I've heard that it's not mandatory. It's not legit. Like,
It was open to discussion. They did some hearings and things like that, but they never mandated that. Just like for instance, the recovery bottles for A2L refrigerants, that's written in the AHRI standards like M and K. And so to have recovery bottles with like a red stripe and left hand threads and things like that, and the relief valve made for the A2L refrigerants, uh, but it's not APA stated, but it is in the AHR guidance documents. And so it's kind of one of those things. You need to just if you want to self-certify or whatever, but sometimes some of those certifications are just some pictures, and they're just some audio recording. It's literally a video. So if you want to get certified, go ahead, and, you know, uh,
yeah,
watch Ty's videos, watch Brian's videos, watch our videos, listen to your podcast. You can certainly get certified in A2L refrigerants. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's good. It's also a resume builder. It lets people know that you've done your due diligence in trying to find every single source of information you can on A2L refrigerants. And, obviously our book has all of the information for the new refrigerants. As far as the refrigerant side goes, it doesn't have the electrical side for that new, that book is like everything has to do with refrigerants and troubleshooting and charging and the step-by-step procedures of all that stuff, and the refrigerants, like what it's about and everything like that, but it doesn't cover like electrical,
no, makes sense. And last thing we're past is I went to a class. It was through Lennox, and the guy said something that kind of stuck with me. He says when it came to 410, following proper practices as far as like brazing with nitrogen and that kind of stuff was highly recommended. When it comes to A2Ls, it's a must. Like you have to.
Yes, that's accurate.
Uh,
100% accurate. Well, the transition from R22 to R410A, they said it's recommended to flow nitrogen. I mean, it's still kind of required, because POE oil is terrible compared to mineral oil. It's like if you look at its base form, it's alcohol and acid. So what you do when you introduce water is you break it down to its base forms, alcohol and acid. Then you mix it with cupric oxide. You sling that crap around the system over and over and over again at 1,400 feet per second. And, you have all this crap between your scroll plates and it's not allowing proper lubrication. You've got acidity, potentially, like basically on your compressor windings. You've got your TXV getting gummed up due to the cupric oxide and just the contaminants. So it really was required even back then. They just didn't want to say it. They didn't want to hurt your feelings. But it's always been required. So it's like now, yeah, it's still mandatory, but you actually have an extra level on it now, which is before you braze, if it's an existing system, you have to flow for a period of time. You'll see that in the manufacturer's literature on all of these A2L systems, R32 or R454B. You'll see it'll say, something like maybe 15 to 20 CFH for X amount of minutes or whatever the cubic feet per hour flow rate is. Got to have a nitrogen flow regulator. You can't do it with a manifold and trying to do it with PSI. It doesn't work that way. If you try to braze like that, you'll have pinholes in your braze joints and stuff like that. It's no fun. Then you start thinking, you're like, this flow of nitrogen is stupid. It's putting holes in it. Well, you never did it right. You were doing PSI, not cubic feet per hour. You should never have any PSI measured on the tubing. You have to have your end open to let that nitrogen flow out.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm glad I asked that. Well, we are way over. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I appreciate you. I love it when you come on having the conversations. Like I said, man, I appreciate what you do. I love watching your videos and learning myself, using them to help others, and then just talking to people and seeing the impact that your videos have had by talking to people that have learned from them, man. It's awesome. Never stop doing what you're doing.
Appreciate you, Gil. Appreciate how you do it and who you are, man. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, man. Do you want to go ahead? If you got to go, you can hang tight. I'll close this out here. Only take me a second. Well, man, thank you guys for being on here, man. This one is never long enough. I wish the podcast with Craig would be, 3 hours, because I know there's always so many things that I want to talk about. And I think that's why I don't ever like use bullet points or like narrow it down, because I know there's always going to be random things that are going to pop up. And I love just sitting there having the conversations with Craig. Obviously want to get into technical things because he's an amazing technical mind, but also just talking about the things that he does, and the things that help the industry. So I know all of you guys in here know that. Anybody listen to this, if God forbid you've been living under a rock and you're in this industry, especially in the residential industry, and you're wanting to learn, please check out acservicetech.com. Check out him on YouTube. His videos are absolutely amazing. There's nothing that you cannot learn about the residential HVAC industry that you can't learn from his videos. There's everything on there. There's times that there's a couple of times actually I went to look at some kind of boiler, and I had to go. It was a different kind of zone valve, and I went and found myself watching one of his videos to give myself a refresher, just to make sure that I was, doing the right thing. So they're for everybody, regardless of what level you are in the trade. So I want to thank him again for coming on and thank him for what he does for this industry, because he makes a huge impact. Um, it's something that can't be measured. The guy's won Mentor of the Year for a reason. So I just want to make sure that I say that. But thank all you guys for coming in here, man. I appreciate you guys in the chat. I thank you so much. Some of you, I'm sorry if I didn't say hello. I saw Mr. Hughes, man, was in here. What's up? What's up? Thank you guys for staying here and hanging out, listening to the chat. I really appreciate you. Make sure you follow the podcast on all the social media sites. Stay up to date with everything that's coming on. There is some things coming. You just got to bear with me, man. Life is giving me swift kicks to the goobers. Just trying to get through some situations, man. Today was a rough day, but I'll be okay. I'll be all right. I want to thank all of you for your support, the text message, the emails. That I really, really do appreciate them. Keep looking over here when the camera's over there. But thank you for those emails and those text messages, man. Even if I don't answer you, I promise you they mean the world to me. I thank you very, very much. And I hope all of you are doing great. But yeah, with that being said, man, remember to stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. I don't care if it's driving, the breaker panel, whatever it is, just please be safe. We all have somebody to make it home safe too. And I want to make sure that you make it home the same way that you left. Um, I don't care if it's your boss, your best friend says, hey, that breaker's turned off. Double check. That's your life that you're messing with. All right. When you're driving, people are crazy nowadays. Just look, pay attention. You could be the best driver in the world, but the person next to you is not. Okay. So just please, please be safe, and then do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. All right. Care about what you do. Try to be the very best at what you do. Never stop learning. Even if it's something that's your passion, whatever it is, just keep being the best version of yourself. And then I always say, just care about other people. If you put positivity in the world, you'd be surprised what you get back. Care about other people, whether that's training them, just asking them how their day is, just caring about somebody, man. I know it sounds a little cliche, but it goes a long, long way. All right. With that being said, man, I love you guys. And until next week, I'll talk to you mofos later. All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Have a great rest of your week, everybody.